Hey guys, had a lot of smart people tell me I shouldn't mix politics and religion in these videos I make. But I created this channel mainly to provide understanding between Christians, mostly Catholic Christians and Protestant Christians. I was a Protestant for many years, and I know a lot of issues that Protestants misunderstood, and I felt led to explain it to them. And there's an issue I need to address today, and it has to do with our American flag, whether we should kneel in solidarity with our African American brothers, or whether we should stand in honor of our fallen veterans. And so I'm going to address that, and hopefully I can bring unity and not cause more division. Again, if you ever see me make a video with this shirt, actually I made a couple videos, it was a couple videos ago, The Power of Love. And honestly, I'm not a real fancy guy. When you see me in a polo shirt, that's about as dressed up as I get. That's my Sunday's best. And you know, if I have time to plan out a video and put it together, I usually put a nice shirt on. Today I wore this shirt, just because I'm just going to make a funny point about I hope I don't offend our Army brothers who think Army grandpas, Army veterans make the best grandpas. Kind of use that as illustration, even though I disagree. I think Navy veterans make better grandpas. I still love you like a brother. We just disagree. And I hope at the end of this video we could all agree. And we can all love one another. So like I said, I'm making this video because I want to bring unity to the church. And even within the church, there's disunity over this issue with the flag. And I think there's misunderstanding. But just like in my videos that I aim towards Protestants, I don't expect or intend to convert them to Catholicism. Honestly, it took me years, 5 years maybe, of studying Catholicism to come back into the church. I don't think one debate, one argument, or one video is going to change anybody's mind on this subject or any other subject. And like my Catholic and Protestant videos, I just want you to understand where the other side is coming from. I want each side to understand. And the only people that do that, doesn't matter if you're liberal or conservative, I find this through life. I've been a political observer and observed human behavior, you know, for 40 years. Since I was a teenager, I found people fascinating. And politics is always connected to everything. Religion, life, everything is connected in some way to politics. So I've always followed politics to see people's behavior and reactions. And this is what I found out. There's two types of people, a conformist and a free thinker. If you're a free thinker, whether you're a liberal or a conservative, you're going to listen to the other side, and you may not be convinced of their argument, but at least you'll understand their argument. Same thing with, you know, Catholicism and Protestantism. If you're a conformist Catholic and this is what I believe and this is it, you're not going to even listen to the other side. If you're a conformist Protestant, you're not even going to listen to the other side. You know, if you're a young mind full of mush and you had this brilliant, what you thought was a brilliant college professor, just jam liberalism in your brain, socialism in your brain, and you're a conformist, that's all you're going to believe is true. If you're a free thinker, you're going to think about what he says. And you may not agree with everything, you may agree with some. So this video is aimed at the free thinkers. And if you don't know if you're a free thinker or a conformist, here's a simple test that I've learned in life. If someone is giving you an argument you disagree with, if it makes you mad, you're probably a conformist. If you're debating someone and you see they're getting mad and they start throwing smears at you or name calling, and you see they're getting angry, you should probably end the argument, because you're not going to change their mind and you're not even going to get them to understand, because they're probably a conformist. So for all the free thinkers out there, just think about what I'm saying. I could be wrong in my understanding of both sides, but this is what I believe, and I want you to know why I wear this shirt. I don't kneel. Now, of course, as a Catholic, I kneel at every Mass. And if you're a Protestant and wonder why Catholics kneel at the Mass, is because we believe what Jesus said when he said, "This is my body," and we believe the whole New Testament that confirms that the bread in communion is his body. So we kneel to Jesus because the Bible tells us that every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. So we're not kneeling to a statue, we're not kneeling to a priest, we're not kneeling to an angel, we're not kneeling to a saint. We're kneeling to the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, Jesus Christ alone. So that's why we kneel in Mass. So let me just get that out of the way. But first, before I tell you why I won't kneel when the American flag is raised, let me give you the other side. So African Americans feel like they're unjustly being brutalized by police. Police use more force on African Americans than they would on white Americans. Police single them out, pull them over more often, and kneeling during the national anthem just brings attention to this problem. And they're doing it peacefully, non-violently, just to make a point, because they're so frustrated they want to shake us and say, "Wake up, America!" And they feel like none of us gets it. Now, the other side will be quick to say, "Well, you know, there's a Harvard professor, liberal African American professor, did a study on this. His name is Roland G. Fryer Jr. And he finds no racial bias in police shootings." This is a scientific study by a Harvard professor who said he was surprised by his findings. He was sure he was going to find a bias. In fact, he found per capita cops shooting white people more than black people. But that's not the end of the story. Now you can take that and run with it and say, "Oh, my side is right." If you read the whole report, he finds that physical abuse by cops 50% higher on black Americans than white Americans. That's significant. 50% is a significant amount. So that means they're being rougher with our African American brothers than they are with the white population. That's a problem. That shouldn't be. So I agree there's a problem. And when I tell my African American brothers and sisters, "Yeah, you know, I grew up in the hood. I've been beaten up by cops. My cousin got all his front teeth knocked out. I had another friend got hit in the groin and they shattered his testicles. We were all white kids." And they're like, "Aha, see, you're the typical textbook middle-aged blue-collar guy." And I never went to college, but all my kids went to college, and I see their textbooks, and all these liberal professors always stereotype us blue-collar guys as being racist. I mean, I've read it. It kind of is amazing that they would stereotype us like that. But that being said, a lot of these kids believe it. That's what we're saying, but that's not what I'm saying. I didn't say I had the same experience with my African American brothers and sisters. I'm saying I know police brutality exists, and we need to do something for it. Where we disagree is what we do for it. That's the only disagreement. The disagreement isn't does it exist or doesn't it exist, you know? But first I like to qualify because I do have a son-in-law who's a police officer, and not too long ago he was called on a call with a man that was armed and dangerous and high on drugs, and when he got there, the man pulled a gun on him. He had every right by protocol to shoot the man. Instead, he calmly explained to the gentleman that he was there to help him. He knew the guy had issues. He explained to the young man that he was there to help him and not hurt him. And he got the man to surrender his gun. The man surrendered his gun to my son-in-law and then put out his hands to be cuffed. He goes, "I'm not going to cuff you, man. Come on. I'm going to take you to get help." And he got him help. He was put in a rehab for drugs and a mental institution to help him cope, and now he's out, you know, and he never went to jail. His family, his mother even wrote on Facebook that she always hated cops, and this young cop, I think he was like 22 at the time, changed her view of police officers. So that's not tooting my son-in-law's horn, because I'm sure there's cops across America doing this, but you just don't see it reported, because that was never reported. I just know because I seen the lady's Facebook post and my son-in-law told me what happened. But this is happening all across America. There's good cops out there. But all the media is showing is the bad cops. And these bad cops need to be punished, and there need to be put policies in place to stop these bad cops. You know, I get just as disgusted as anyone when I see an unarmed man getting shot and killed. I understand the rage and, you know, the outrage. But I don't think the answer is kneeling during the national anthem. I think that causes disunity, not unity. Just think about after 9/11. Nobody thought of themselves as a Republican. No one thought of themselves as a Democrat. There were no liberals. There were no conservatives. We were all Americans. I remember the New York Giants, every one of them running out with an American flag that Sunday after 9/11. Every one of them running on the field with an American flag. Can you imagine if one of those Giants took a knee during the national anthem? I think the rest of the Giants would have kicked his butt, honestly. So the flag brings unity. Kneeling for the flag brings disunity. And a lot of veterans like myself, when we stand at attention with that flag, we reminisce about the soldiers who have fallen. We reminisce, we think about all the brave men who gave their lives to abolish slavery, the evil of slavery in this country during the Civil War. Think about all the men who gave their lives to protect us from true fascism, true Nazis taking over the world in World War II. And we think about all the men and women who are protecting us today from terrorist attacks, that we don't have another 9/11. That's why we honor the flag. We feel we're honoring these fallen soldiers. And I know my African American brothers kneel and say, no, we're not dishonoring them. We love our veterans. You know, my father was a soldier, whatever. We're just doing it to bring attention to the problem. And I'm saying, you're not helping the problem. Van Jones is a liberal African American commentator for CNN. If you're not familiar with Van Jones, he was an advisor to President Obama, and he had to resign because he admitted that he believed in communism. I mean, he's as left-wing as you can get. But in my opinion, he's a free thinker. He can look at a situation, even though I disagree with him totally on politics, I believe Van Jones is a good, decent man who's a free thinker. When President Trump was elected, I remember that night, he literally had tears in his eyes. It looked like he was gonna bawl. And he said this was a blacklash. He was so angry and so sad in that President Trump won because he thought Trump would be really bad for the African American community. But recently, when President Trump passed the Justice Reform Act, Van Jones, the same guy, said President Trump did more signing this bill than any president in the last 50 years for the African American community. Well, what was in the bill? Well, it made prison reform. It took away that 3 strikes and you go away that unfairly targeted the black community. So like if a white guy got caught with a bunch of cocaine, maybe he'd go to jail for 6 months. But if a black guy got caught with the same amount of crack, he'd go away for 5, 10 years, or life, even in some cases life. I don't know if you've seen any part of that African American woman who went away for life on a simple drug charge. So that was part 1 of the prison reform, of the Justice Reform Act. Part 2 is going to be more about how police officers interact with people. So all I'm saying is that's a solution. Kneeling when the flag gets up and you know it's going to offend half of the country, why would you do that? You know, when the action that we could take politically with reforms, and this is bipartisan. You know, this bill was Rand Paul, who's a libertarian Republican, and Cory Booker, liberal Democrat. They came together in a bipartisan manner, got this bill passed, and they got President Trump to sign it. I'm not saying Trump is a great guy or anything. I'm just saying he signed it. And according to Van Jones, an African American liberal, that did more for the African American community than any president has done in the last 50 years. So all I'm saying is, let's try and understand why people get offended when you kneel, and let's try and understand why people kneel. They both have a reason. And like, you know, Ronald Reagan used to say back in the 80s, conservatives think liberals are dumb and liberals think conservatives are evil. But I've seen it, the partisanship gets so much worse over the years that both sides think the other sides are evil. And I'm saying they're not. They both have their reasons for what they do. The African American community is unfairly treated in a lot of police matters, and that needs to be addressed. But veterans of America are highly offended when someone takes a knee, when that American flag that we've seen on so many coffins goes up and you take a knee in disrespect our fallen brothers and sisters. That's very offensive to us. So I'm saying, why don't we meet in the middle? If you're a Christian, you got to love each other, you know, and that's why I don't kneel. But that's why I will do everything I can to help the African American community get the justice that they deserve. So God bless. Hope this was helpful, and I'll try not to wear controversial t-shirts in the future. Bye.